Howdy folks. So yesterday I put in my nomination papers and I am now officially an independent candidate standing in the general election as MP for Derbyshire Dales. Now on Wednesday this week I went out on the streets of Bakewell with my friend Sophie who brought her camera kit, and we did some amazing vox pops of people asking them about their opinions about the government and who they're going to vote for and whether they were local and all sorts of questions. So that video is coming out soon. But one of the interesting things is that people were saying about this Sunak Starmer ITV debate and what they thought of it. So last night I thought, I'd better watch this. I'd better tune in. I don't normally watch mainstream media, but I thought, let me just tune in and just check it out. So I watched it last night and oh my God, what a red and blue Punch and Judy show that was. And obviously looking through the eyes of seeing through the illusion of the false matrix, it wasn't difficult to see what a psyop it was. So first of all, we have to bear in mind that ITV, who staged this election debate special, are of course a company, a PLC, listed on the London Stock Exchange. They turn over about 3.4 billion. I was looking at it yesterday, and they have got obviously huge institutional shareholders, so we can safely assume that they are largely owned by BlackRock and Vanguard. In other words, they are part of the big corporate machine that also owns so many other huge corporations that are involved in the shit show. Essentially, World Economic Forum aligned big corporations. Hold on, Kobe's just done a poo, so I need to gather that up. Hold on. Okay, so it's important to be aware that media and communications is one of the big pillars of the strategy, and that is why all of these corporations have been bought up over the years. All of the medical journal titles, all of the local newspapers, all of the tabloid newspapers, mainstream media, television stations, all completely owned, lock, stock and barrel, by these big corporations that are aligned to the World Economic Forum. So what we were seeing last night, or earlier this week, or what I watched last night, was a piece of propaganda. So the first message, which they were very clear about landing:
in 5 weeks, either Keir Starmer or I will be Prime Minister.
Now that isn't the case. In a democracy, there's very many parties that are standing. We got Reform, just come on with Nigel Farage has suddenly been appointed leader of that. Big surprise. Not. You've got Ed Davey working very hard to position himself as the Love leader. That was so interesting yesterday to receive that mail shot to say that politicians rarely hear politicians saying the word love. That did make me chuckle. Then of course, there's a myriad of other parties, and of course there is a wave of independents who are powerfully standing and speaking truth to power all over the country, including myself. So it's not a foregone conclusion. It's not a foregone conclusion that Sunak or Starmer will be Prime Minister. It's a probability, it's a highly likely probability, but it's not a foregone conclusion. Point number one. And you see, this is the thing. They're trying to plant a seed in the minds of the masses that it's red or blue are your only choices. But of course, as George Galloway says, they're both cheeks of the same arse. So they're both aligned to World Economic Forum agendas. They're both aligned to Davos. Keir Starmer has stated, I might even stitch his video in again. You might be bored of it, but he was asked by Emily Maitlis, so if you had to choose, is it Westminster or Davos? And he said Davos.
Quickly, you have to choose now between Davos or Westminster.
Davos.
Why?
Because Westminster is too constrained, and it's closed, and we're not having meaning. Once you get out of Westminster, whether it's Davos or anywhere else, you actually engage with people that you can see working with in the future. Westminster is just a tribal shouting place.
He is aligned to the World Economic Forum, and Labour has just as many big corporate donors as, I won't say they have just as many, actually, that's probably not true. I'd say Conservatives have more, but nonetheless, Labour have got their big corporate backers. This is the context. We have to realise that party politics, especially the red and blue Punch and Judy show, is the enemy of democracy. And what has happened over the years is that we have been entrained, we have been conditioned into this idea that it's either red or blue. But it doesn't have to be that way. And in fact, on 4th of July, which is Independence Day, it is possible that all of the independents who are standing as an alternative to the party political shit show, it's possible they could awaken the lost electorate and they could be voted in. It could be that all 650 MPs, I think it's 650, give or take, MPs in the House of Commons on the 5th of July are all white, by which I mean independent. The colour they normally assign to independents is white. So, vision that, imagine that. Wow, it would sweep away party politics overnight. It would return the power back to the people, because in truth, MPs are supposed to be representatives of the people. But of course, what has happened under the regime of this regime of democracy, use inverted commas with that, is that once an MP or a party gets elected, they just see it as a carte blanche to do what the hell they like for the next 5 years. And we've seen that in spades since 2019 when Boris Johnson got in. So here we have these two men, and they're being asked about, one of the questions was about the NHS.
Question that the NHS is broken. Your response to that, Rishi Sunak?
Well, as Janet knows and everyone knows, the NHS is still recovering from COVID. We went through the best part of 2 years where the NHS couldn't conduct all the treatments it normally would, and it is going to take time to recover from that. But we are now making progress. The waiting lists are coming down. But what Keir Starmer didn't mention to you, which you did, Julie.
Waiting list 7.2 million, they're now 7.5 million. He says they're coming down, and this is the guy who says he's good at maths.
Yeah, they are now coming down. They are now coming down.
7.2 when you said you get them down. 7.2 million, they're now 7.5 million. I'd like you to explain how they're coming down.
Because they were coming down from where they were when they were higher.
7.2.
And they're now on their way down. They are down, right?
And they had this big argument. Oh, waiting lists have increased. No, they've decreased. No, they're 7.5 million. No, they're 7 million. They've gone up. No, they've gone down. And do you notice in all of this being drawn into this minutiae of it, and it actually really reminds me of being a mother. The classic thing, you'll know this if you're a mum. When you want your kids to go to bed because you're exhausted, you need some me time and a large glass of wine and just to relax and watch the telly. You want to get the kids to bed. You don't say to them, do you want to go to bed? You say, would you like the red pyjamas or the blue pyjamas? And it gets them choosing. Oh, yeah, no, I think I'll have the blue pyjamas. No, I'll have the red pyjamas. And in their little tiny kind of logical mind, because they've been offered two choices, they don't consider a different choice. So what we saw in this debate was the red pyjamas, blue pyjamas game of party politics. So as I'm watching this debate about the NHS and waiting lists, and have they gone up or have they gone down, or is it 7 million or 7.5 million? I forget the exact number. But at no point did either of them, or Julie, the presenter, or any of the audience say, why are so many people sick? Why are so many people sick? I mean, there's 66 million, around about that, people in this country, and 7 million of them are on a waiting list for some kind of medical procedure. That's a lot of ill health. And so this is the thing. At what point are these red and blue Punch and Judy show politicians going to actually stop the infighting and actually turn round and look at the issue of health and vitality and how we can create a really healthy population and how we can reduce the amount of sickness? But of course it won't happen. And why won't it happen? The reason it won't happen is because of the grip of big corporations, specifically big pharma, who make a shed load of profits, 100 billion in profits. Pfizer's profit in 2022 with all of the Britney Spears jibby jabs. That's worldwide. There's a lot of money in sickness and in ill health and in mystery viruses and bird flu. What are we going to do? Let's hope it doesn't spread to humans. I know. Let me have a jab. I mean, at what point was the British public, or indeed the worldwide public, psyoped to believe that good health comes out of a syringe? Seriously. Good health does not come out of a syringe. Good health comes from breathing fresh air, from drinking natural living water, from spending time in nature, from eating beautiful, nourishing, healthy foods, through healing our nervous system, through not being in a super stress and anxiety, which leads us inevitably to reach for resources to soothe ourselves, whether that's sugar or booze or cigarettes or whatever your resources may be. And I'm not knocking those, because we all have to find ways to make it through the night, so to speak. This whole issue of health and why are there so many people sick was not even touched upon in that debate. It was just a red and blue Punch and Judy show. Then later in the debate, we got onto the issue of immigrants and immigration.
Politicians have broken so many promises on immigration. Why should I trust either of you to do anything about such large numbers of people risking their lives to cross the channel?
Stephen, immigration is too high, and we will need to take bold action to bring it down. And now we have a deterrent ready to go. Migrants have been detained, the flights will go in July, but only if I'm your Prime Minister.
Well, Stephen, the levels of migration are at record highs, 685,000. It's never been that high, save in the last year or two. The Prime Minister says it's too high. We've never had numbers like this before. This year alone, 10,000 people have crossed on boats.
Rishi Sunak, respond directly to Keir Starmer.
Over the last 12 months, the number of crossings are down a third because the plans we put in place are starting to make a difference. But the choice of this election is about the future. I believe you need to have a deterrent. The only way to stop this problem is to say to people who come here illegally, they cannot stay and they will be removed. If I'm your Prime Minister, the planes will go to Rwanda, we will have a deterrent. So the simple question for Keir Starmer is, what will you do with people who come here illegally?
We need to smash the gangs that are running this vile trade, making a huge amount of money putting some of the most vulnerable people in boats across the channel. They're making a fortune.
And at no point did anyone actually stop and go to the root of the problem. Why are so many people on the move? Why are so many people being displaced? Well, the answer, of course, is war. A big part of it is war. People fleeing to safety. And so we're crying into our cornflakes about immigrants. It was a big issue when I was interviewing people in Bakewell on Wednesday. That was a big issue that came up. The big issues were cost of living, NHS, war, but also immigration. So we are essentially sending billions of pounds in military support to fuel wars, and millions of innocent people, women and children, millions of women and children, especially in Palestine, have been killed, mass murdered, genocide, and many millions of others are fleeing for their lives, trying to flee to safety. And so many people on the move. Where are they all going to go? So instead of trying to argue the toss about what do we do with all these immigrants, why didn't anyone, Julie, the audience, Starmer and Sunak, why didn't anyone question why are we funding all of this war and creating the problem of immigrants trying to flee war-torn zones and countries? How can we create peace? How can we create prosperity? How can we create abundance for all so people don't have to be on the move? Surely that has to be the solution. So this is the problem with the current party politics. I don't even know if politics is a good word. It's just a shit show, actually, in truth. It's all about power, obfuscation, propaganda, and it's about, literally, that debate was a psyop to seduce the people of this country that the only two real options are red pyjamas or blue pyjamas. And it's time that system is pattern interrupted. It's time that the people took back control and acted in interests of the people of the United Kingdom and not the big corporations. Please share this video. If you know anyone, if you are in Derbyshire Dales, please vote for me. If you know anyone in Derbyshire Dales, please share it with them. If you are able, please support my campaign. I was very fortunate enough to have gathered, I've had lots of generous gifts, but pretty much kind of tiny amounts. I have had a couple of chunky contributions which have really helped. So I've been able to cover my deposit, I've been able to cover the initial printing, which is the base cost of the printing of the leaflets. So 40,000 leaflets will be going out to every household in Derbyshire Dales with strongly voiced opinions about the issues and what's going on. So please do, if you can, help my campaign. I'd really appreciate it. Literally, we've got, I think, 28 days now. Today's the cut-off for nominations, so tonight we'll discover who the candidates are. And then it's in pretty much 28 days' time is the election on the 4th of July. So I am going all out. I'm not attached to winning, but there's a possibility. There is a possibility I could be elected. Certainly, when I went out on Wednesday and I spoke to the people on the street, there was a huge dissatisfaction and a disillusionment with the entire political party system. And it is possible that independents up and down this country could capture the imagination of the people and take back power from the big corporations. So, sending you lots of love. Let's vision that in, and all support is gratefully appreciated. Lots of love.